Patient, never try skating. Fuck niggas hating.
As always, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, wonderful, peaceful life, being single if you are, or free from drama. But in this video, I want to discuss something that I find very entertaining. It's the way that modern women tend to hijack specific terms regarding men in order to turn them around and weaponize them against men. This video really it's not that important of a subject, but it's just entertaining. The reason why I say it's not that important, because it really doesn't matter, especially if you're along this journey with me and I'm able to take you with me, and you know you're a good guy that has given up on modern dating, because the stipulations and the unreasonable expectations of these modern women, and you are a man full of faith who is patiently waiting on somebody that is for you. If you are on that same journey that I'm on as a single man in modern times, and I don't consider myself a modern man, I don't consider myself a trick or someone who caters to a woman's every desire and absent of self-care and stuff of that nature. So, but it's still important, I believe, feel free to disagree, to educate yourself. Even though you might not be interested in modern dating or interested in a modern woman or even entertaining these women, and you are on a journey that's about self-healing and about self-advancing and about building yourself up and repairing and healing and all of that good stuff, kudos, okay? I'm in certain aspects, I'm on that same journey, but it's still important just to educate yourself. So when you do jump back into that world of dating, you can easily avoid the craters or the potholes of the world, modern women, and you can avoid getting your time wasted or wasting anyone else's time. So when it comes to these terms, the reason why a woman would try to weaponize these terms I'm going to mention in this video, or just terms in general, so keep it simple, is so that it's confusing, right? It's like word salad. It scrambles your mind. When you're listening to these podcasts and you're listening to these modern women talk, and they're saying, oh, a real man does this and a real man is that, and where the real ones at, and kind of like hijacking the terms that we use to describe ourselves, or that are generally used to describe men, good men, in order to give it its own definition, one that they believe it should have, in order to force us into compliance of what they believe a real man is and what he should be. And speaking of a real man, that's number one on my list as far as terms that modern women have hijacked in order to weaponize them against men. Okay, so number one, jumping right into it without wasting any more of your time. Number one being a real man. Okay, so that is a term that is hijacked by modern women in order to spin a narrative on it, and it is used is used against men. So we as men, if you don't already know what a real man is, yes, you're a man. You were raised with the body parts of a man, the features of a man. There's certain other not aspects of what a man is, as far as like when you consider yourself a man, right? I consider myself a man, and I believe that a man is this. And this is not something I researched. This is just my own understanding. And so feel free to disagree. I'm not claiming to know everything, but this is my own perspective. And if you agree and it validates you, give me a like or a comment and let me know in the comments below, right? So a real man is someone who is masculine. He's righteous, right? He's a man of integrity, and he has good character. That's real big for me when I think of what a man is. And a man is someone who sets a good example. I can give you a brief example. There was a study that was done. It even made national news, where they was discussing masculinity versus toxic masculinity. And there was one thing that stood out to me because, you know, you hear women say things like toxic masculinity, describing a masculine man as to be toxic. But really, I believe, there is a such thing as toxic masculinity. And I think toxic masculinity is when somebody abuses their position of masculinity. So a man who is naturally stronger than you, or a woman who stilts himself over you, or he abuses his size and his ability to overthrow you, that's toxic masculinity. And the definition, the way they described, and I'll try to articulate it the best way I could to you, as far as what healthy or regular, typical, good masculinity is. You know, a man exhibits positive masculinity when, if you was to think, if every man had those same traits, would the world be a better place? Okay, so if every man had the traits of a masculine man, which are to be good character, who is also righteous, a man of integrity, and lastly, a protector and a provider. Because think about it, you have two different kind of masculine men. You have this masculine man who would see a woman being, mugged or harmed in any kind of sexual way or something like that, or abused in any kind of way, and he'd step in to protect this woman. Okay, he doesn't want to see someone else get hurt. He's like that Superman, Batman. That's masculinity. But then you have toxic masculinity, like I just mentioned, which is the person who abuses his position in the hierarchy of men, where he's a masculine. He might be a big, tall, heavy, buff guy, and so this man, he abuses, that, and he uses that to take advantage of people. Okay, so that'll be your, there's certain things I can't say on this video, but that'll be your, let's say the people that are on demon time. So if I could sum it up, the street guys, the dudes who hurt other people, the dudes who end up doing life in prison. Okay, so I can avoid saying some of those words. That's toxic masculinity, because it is definitely masculine of a man to be aggressive and dominant and stuff like that, but it's toxic. If every man exhibited those traits, the world wouldn't be a better place. But if every man was a protector, a provider, in that kind of masculine sense, he would exhibit positive masculinity. I'm just entertaining the thought of that. That's not something that I'm coming up with. Don't shoot the messenger now. But if I was to give you an example of what I thought masculinity it represents something good. It does represent strength, but it is something that is done and used righteously. That is what a man is, a man of integrity, righteousness, a man who is good intentioned. He still exhibits masculine traits, but he's also a protector and a provider. So this being one of the terms that modern women hijack in order to spin the narrative and use it against men in order to get men to conform, and to be what they want them to be. This is what happens. They believe that a real man, all the stuff I just mentioned, that's not even what they think about. They might say something to the protector and the provider part in agreement with me, but as a man, I know there's more to us than paying a woman's bills. I know there's more to us than just being a big guy that if somebody walked up on our chick, that we can protect her. We have kids we need to protect. We need to protect each other's minds. It goes further than just the physical attributes that a man provides. She thinks that a real man is someone who tolerates dysfunction. Okay, you hear these videos where a woman says a real man wouldn't care about how many kids I got. A real man wouldn't care about my body count. A real man wouldn't care how many baby daddies I have. A real man wouldn't complain about having to pay all the bills. A real man wouldn't care about me having an attitude problem and being toxic and giving him the silent treatment and all of that stuff. He would just tolerate it. He would just be like, babe, you must be hungry. Okay, that's not masculine for a man to tolerate a woman's negative behavior and toxic behavior. That is not masculine. It's actually pretty beta. Okay, look up the definition of beta. And one of the things you're going to see in the definition of beta is a man who doesn't stand up for himself, is a man who is agreeable, is a man who is passive, is a man who goes with someone else's flow. That's not a leader. Okay, leaders set tones. Leaders lead and choose the direction for us. And to allow a woman to lead in any kind of way is not masculine. Now, there's going to be times when you're in a relationship with a woman where it's okay for her to lead. There's going to be areas where she specializes in things that you don't do, and you allow your woman to take the wheel under those circumstances. That's okay. I am by no means saying that a woman doesn't have the smarts needed to lead in certain circumstances, but it is a man's job to take that lead and that initiative to be a leader initially. Okay, so she's also going to think that a real man doesn't hold her accountable. That's not true. Leaders hold people accountable. Leaders give you tasks to complete. Leaders are the authority figures of the world. And leaders are what moves us forward in any direction, regardless of what it is. Outside of doing videos for YouTube, I also film, edit, and direct music videos. So I don't try to sell that on this channel, so I never really brung it up. But the thing is, I'm the leader in that business that I do. So when I have someone helping me out, I tell them, all right, hold this light like this, hold that, give me another take. I'm leading. I'm not saying, hey, what do you think? Do you think we need another take? Do you think it looked good enough? That's not the role that I play in my business. I'm sure you understand that concept, so I'm going to move forward. Number 2 term that modern women hijack in order to weaponize it against men is the just friends thing. Now, I'm big on this. I understand that there's a lot of people in the world that don't really know themselves. They haven't self-reflected. They don't spend enough time by themselves. They don't know what they really want. They're exploring. They still feel young. They got a lot of life left. They're not ready to settle down. They don't believe in monogamous relationships. Whatever the case may be, they've been hurt before, so they don't want to jump into something else. I get it. They want to take their time. But the definition of a friend is someone that you form a bond with, exclusive of sex. That means excluding. That means to remove or not include sex. So a woman saying we're just friends, but you guys are being intimate with each other. A woman who is saying that we're just friends, but she wants you to pursue her in an intimate or romantic manner. She wants you to court her and vet her as if you are interested in her romantically, but she is saying we're just friends. I'm only looking for friends. This is a term that has been hijacked by modern women, and then narrative has been twisted on it in order to weaponize it against men. Now, Jerome, how does she weaponize saying that we're just friends against men? Well, if you agree to being just friends with somebody that you know you are romantically interested in, you have just put yourself and signed up to be on her roster. In her bullpen, she has options. She's going to entertain you. You're going to spend your time, effort, and money to groom this woman, vet this woman, only to find out that this woman has no intentions and let you know up front to entertain you romantically, even if you guys become intimate. Intentionality dictates that you have a sense of direction and you're not going with the flow. You're going to have women that claim that they are looking for just friends because their mama told them that you should know a man in all seasons of his life before you get into a relationship. Sounds good. But guess what? That's not how life works. Some people, you don't know who they are until you actually dealing with them. Have you ever heard that phrase that you don't know who somebody is until you live with them? Well, guess what? You have to live with them in order to know them. Those parts of them that you don't see because they are very good at upholding their representative and their mask. Yeah. So there's no way you're going to know somebody in all 4 seasons of their life. You want to know somebody romantically. You want to know somebody financially. You want to know somebody responsibly. You want to know somebody spiritually, but don't want to be in any kind of committed relationship or obligation to exclusivity with this person. You want to have options, and you want to the sign of any red flag or any flag that isn't green. You want to be able to swap him out with somebody else that you are more entertained by. This is a term. The term just friends is a term that modern women have hijacked, spun the narrative on, and they weaponize it against men. And men are tired of being used. They're tired of being paying for all the dates. They're tired of being the one showing all the chivalrous behavior, only to be told, I only see us as friends. And this man is like, I met you on a dating site. You click like on my profile. Yeah, you said we were just friends. She's like, I told you I just wanted just friends. She told you from the beginning that she only wanted friends. Then she wanted you to pursue her every single day. Good morning, beautiful. Good afternoon, beautiful. Good evening, beautiful. Let me pick you up. I want to take you out. And she agreed to your dates. She let you woo her. And she left feeling validated and beautiful and everything and cared and sought after, only to tell you in the end, we're just friends. That's all I'm looking for. It's okay that I'm talking to 2 or 3, 4, 5 other men because you and me, we're just friends. Number 3, a term that modern women hijack is a provider. I mentioned earlier a real man is a protector and a provider, but guess what? Being a provider means specifically that you provide for your family. It is not realistic to think that a man is supposed to be providing for someone he doesn't know. A man is supposed to provide for someone that he doesn't love. A man is supposed to be providing for somebody he isn't romantically involved with, that has an emotional connection, not just a physical one. Not, I find you attractive, you find me attractive, let me pay your bills. Women will hijack this, modern women hijack this term, change the narrative and use it against men. And now you're not a real man unless you pay me for my time and you pay my bills. A real man would pay for my outfit and my nails done and my hair is done on the first date with no guarantee that we're even going to go anywhere. This term has been hijacked and used against men. Number 4, broke. The term brokey. Now, we all know what broke is. Broke is not having sufficient funds. Broke is living in poverty. Broke is, not having any money. Struggling, being a struggling, whatever it is you are. You are on the come up. You don't have the money. You need to save. You might be in school and you got to work to pay for school. That means you're broke. And this is a term nobody wants to be called broke, but the way this term has been hijacked and then used against men is not just because he's broke, because if you're broke, that's just what you are, bro. If you don't have any money, you're broke. You might be broke until payday. You're no longer broke. But once you pay those bills and you only got $15.76 in your pocket, you are back broke. But if you are not a broke man, you have a savings account. You are responsible with your funds. You are investing your money. You have investments and things going on that, bring money in. You are still going to be called broke by a modern woman if you opt out of paying her bills, if you don't choose to take her on trips and take her shopping on the first date. If she cannot extract money from you, or if you don't make 6 figures or more, you are considered broke, even if you have a bank account full of money. And this is always an interesting topic to me because I know a couple of people that make a lot of money. And I know people, let's say, I'm going to just give simple numbers. Let's say a man makes $100,000 a year. Okay. But let's say that his overhead, including his bills, car note, car insurance, rent, insurance, life insurance, house, renter's insurance, cell phone, you know what I'm saying? Group all the bills up. Monthly, he's paying a bunch of money. At the end of the year, if this man kicks out $95,000 to maintain a specific lifestyle, he'd be, you guessed it, broke. But a man who makes $100,000 and maybe he only kicks out 30 to 40, maybe 50 at the worst a year on his overhead expenses, he'd have more money than the other man who makes equal amount of money, because guess what he's doing differently? You guessed it. He isn't spending money on Birkin bags. He isn't spending money on endless amount of trips and trying to appease a modern woman. But he'd still be called broke. Number 5, submissive. This is a very common term that modern women have hijacked in order to change the narrative and spin it on men. When a man thinks submissive, he thinks of a woman who is, by definition, passive, agreeable, goes with his flow. Okay, she's not a slave. She's just somebody that allows him to lead. That is what men think when we think submissive. It's very attractive. It's feminine. It makes things go with the flow. Of course, the man has to be a good leader in order for a woman. When a woman says, I'm not going to just submit to anybody, we think you're not going to submit to anybody anyway. Don't sit there and make it seem like you have not met a man who knows how to make right decisions and be a good leader. You haven't met a man that you are willing to submit to. Because a modern woman has hijacked this term and given it a new definition. It means I'm a slave. That means I can't talk back. That means I should watch my mouth, and that means I'm under his ruling and he's like my daddy or authority figure, and that means, I'm supposed to. What she's going to do instead of be agreeable and go along with your leadership, she's going to be passive aggressive. She's going to disagree. She's going to hold resentment and build resentment and start playing mind games with you. So you'll see a woman who is weaponizing submissiveness. Let me give it to you straight. A woman who is acting like she's going with your flow, a woman who is pretending to be agreeable in order to be perceived by a man as submissive. Why? Why would she do this? How would she weaponize that against a man? Her being submissive is in exchange for what she could potentially gain. Her bills being paid, you marrying her, therefore she has just married a long-term source of financial security. And then when she is done pretending, she can remove herself, get a divorce, and take half of your wages, the house, and the cars. Spousal support, the kids, and child support. That is how a woman would weaponize the word submissive against a man. Number 6, independence or independent. An independent person, male or female, but specifically to modern women in this video, is how you describe a woman who is independent of anyone else, or she is self-sustaining. She doesn't need the help of others in order to survive on whatever level or pedestal she's placed herself on, because she is independent. But this is a term that has been hijacked by modern women and narrative changed and then weaponized against men. So now when a woman says she's independent, what she's trying to tell you is, I have my own, and if you're going to be in my life, I need you to contribute. I need you to make sure that I'm sustaining. I need you to make sure that you are bringing something to the table that I can use in order to sustain myself. But needing or requiring anyone to do anything for you is the opposite of independent. Oh, yeah, they heard what I just said right now, and they got a rebuttal. They got their Twitter fingers ready. They're about to jump in the comments. You don't know what you're talking about. Da, 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 da. You don't know what you're talking about, and you should read a dictionary and you'll see what independent mean, or you could just stop using the word. See, the thing is, a woman implying that she's independent, which is more likely going to be said to a man because she wants him to know that she doesn't need one. I'm good with or without one. Then you should be good with or without one. You shouldn't require one to rack in the dough and pay some of your bills. How about this man has his own set of bills? How about if you wanted to entertain a man who was established on his own, taking care of his own responsibilities, then you guys would come together. There again, I just said come together. That implies 50-50 worth of effort and or financial contribution. She disagrees. This entitled mindset means you're supposed to pay my bills. I'm not supposed to pay yours. Why? Because I'm a girl. Because I'm a girl. Oh, somebody paying their own bills, that don't make a man no more of a man. They're going to say, you're supposed to do that. That's the bare minimum. But if a woman pays her own bills, she's special. Interesting. If you're not independent of anyone else and you don't need it, if you're not in the position where you don't need any help, you are not independent. I don't care what you thought. Number 7, the table. Very huge all over the internet. A woman saying, sorry, I just got a text message. A woman saying that she is the table. This confused even me. Okay, so the table is symbolic. The table is symbolic for the glue that keeps a family together. That is the place in the house where the whole family congregates or gathers together. And the table is normally and typically and traditionally prepared by the woman. So the man is typically and generally the breadwinner and provider, and then the woman is traditionally the one that sets the table and makes the dinner and the suppers and all that stuff like that. So that's where this term, the table, comes from. And I didn't read anything. I use my own logic. So if you disagree or you have a different interpretation of it, feel free to put it in the comments. I never claim to know everything. This is just my own personal opinion. Okay. But my point is, that's what the table sounds like to me. Now, when you meet a modern woman, this is a hijacked term. Because if the woman is supposed to be the glue that keeps the family together, then that means that everything that she's done or is doing is intentional to make sure for the betterment of that family household as a whole, not just herself. So Birkin bags don't put food in our children's mouths. Okay, going on trips every other month does not add to the money in the savings account. Taking you shopping doesn't put food in the cabinets, doesn't pay the mortgage or the car note and insurance and all of these other things that need to be taken care of. Those are things that are superficial and materialistic. So she weaponizes this term against men by claiming to be the table, but all she's bringing to the table is something that you might eat, but it's not edible, if you know what I mean. Explicit, but I try to keep it PG as possible. Number 8, she has hijacked the term a wife. A wife is a helpmate to a man. Women were created to be helpmates to a man. The man is supposed to be the leader. Hopefully he's a good one. She's submissive to her man. She helps him along the way. She respects his position in that relationship. He's the more dominant and masculine one. She's the more feminine and submissive one. That dynamic works. But this woman isn't submissive. She thinks when she thinks she's a bad bitch, a wifey, she's saying that I'm a bad bitch. Excuse my language, but they say it. That's what it is. And I'm not a hoe. I'm high value. I'm independent. That contradicts the fact that you would be a wife. Yes, you can be a wife and independent at the same time, but you are not independent of your husband. Your husband or romantic partner is still going to be the one to make the overall decision. He is somebody that you should trust to do that. If you don't, you're with the wrong person. Don't blame him. You should leave that situation. And they are leaving the situations too, and they're choosing to be by themselves. And they're choosing to be independent, but that doesn't make you a wifey, clearly, if you're by yourself. Oh, they're not going to like that. Okay. It also means that I'm dominant because I have to be, and I'm submissive to the right guy. I just mentioned that. Another hijack term. This is a combination of hijack terms here. And she's saying if he's a provider, I'll be submissive. A woman who's saying if he's a provider, I'll be submissive is like saying a man who's paying, I'll shut up. She might as well go get a job. She doesn't want to work though. That goes into number 9. Another hijack term by modern women is traditional. You hear a woman say she's traditional. This typically, what being traditional actually means is that she's a morally grounded woman, respectable, submissive, and overall a virtuous woman. Someone who upholds herself with class, dignity, respect, and things of that nature. But also what it means, because naturally if this woman was traditional, she'd end up in a situation with a man who values her because of such attributes, and she'd be taken care of by a good man. The fact that you can't find a good man or not doesn't dictate whether or not that you are a good woman or not. I don't believe that. So a woman have a history of dating ain't shit men, and then contradicting my statement when I said by being a traditional woman, you would naturally attract a man who wants that. Discernment dictates that you become a better judge of character. So if you are talking to a man who has no intentions or his intentions aren't pure, and you just entertained him and you went with the flow or whatever, and then you ended up finding out that this man had no intentions on treating you like a traditional or value, a woman of value, a virtuous woman, a classy, respectable woman, or he took that for granted, we need more discernment. We need to use our discernment to be a better judge of character, thus waste less of our own time, and properly vet and ask the right questions when dating man or woman in order to find the right person. And if we don't, we need to make a conscious decision to stay single until we do find that person. Okay? When a woman says she's traditional, what she's a modern woman, what she's generally saying is that I want to be taken care of. I don't want to work. I have morals, but I can be submissive when convenient. She has morals and she can be submissive when convenient. When it's convenient for her, when it makes sense to her. This is not who she is. It's something that she's capable of being. That's typically what modern women mean when they say that they are traditional, is that they're saying, I know how to do that stuff if I had somebody like this, but that's not who I am. And I'm going to tell you like this. If I was going shopping for anything, because you can't go shopping for a woman, but if I was going shopping for a pair of shoes, and then on the box it says, I can be used to play basketball, but you'd have to get this other strap and this other strap, then I'd know those aren't basketball shoes. Okay? I don't want a woman who can be what I'm looking for. I want a woman who will be what I'm looking for. I want a woman who is what I'm looking for. She needs to already be traditional, and she needs to remain traditional. She shouldn't be a chameleon of sorts. She shouldn't change her skin depending on who she's dealing with. Who trusts that? She should remain herself, and if she's with somebody who doesn't appreciate her, remove herself. If she's with someone who doesn't value her, remove herself. Same thing with men. I would say the same thing, but this topic is about women. If you are a man and you claim to be a good man, you can't justify having poor character traits because some woman broke your heart. You can, to each their own. But look what you look like. If you get caught in the act of being a fool, you will be viewed as a fool. Lastly, number 10, women who claim to be celibate until marriage. Traditionally and spiritually, this is something that you might read in the Bible or you learn in church, that you should wait to have sex until you're married. Ideally, this is when you are a virgin. They tell you this ahead of time. They don't say you get to go out there and have a body count of 30 and then decide that you're going to be celibate until married. Oh, yeah, they're not going to like this one. This is about 80 to 90% of modern women who try to weaponize sex against a man. They think that they're going to force you to submit to being a husband, which is going to give them long-term financial security before they invest their body into you, which traditionally you should have stayed a virgin. Traditionally, you shouldn't have any kids. Traditionally, it's a more spiritual thing. More modern women use this, like I said, to weaponize sex against men. So if you really want to have sex with this woman, you have to be one of those men who are willing to sign on that dotted line. And once you sign on that dotted line, she can go and tolerate you for a few years until you build up a certain status, or she has her claws and tentacles wrapped around you good enough to where she says, I don't want to do this anymore. And she leaves with half the cars, the house, and the wages, and the children, and the spousal support, and the child support. Modern women are specializing in hijacking terms in order to weaponize them, spin them around, change the narrative, and use them against men. Confuse men. If you are not stoic, steadfast, you don't know who you are, you're not confident, you are lost, you are weak below the zipper, a lot of men are. You justify poor behavior, you're a chameleon of sorts yourself, you go with the wind. Your attitude is, well, I can't trust a woman, so that's why I am the way I am. You are a perfect candidate for this woman. You have been beaten up by society. You are weak. You don't know how to be patient. You don't want to be by yourself. You have needs. This sounds like women. Sounds like modern women. I have needs too, man. Sex is not a need. It's one. Sex is a sport, if you ask me. Sex is a sport. I feel like we don't need it. We want it. And I feel like if you give into it, then you'll find yourself out of control of that department in your life. And you have succumbed to it. I mentioned this in a previous video. Succumbing to your own weaknesses does not make you a leader. It makes you a victim. It makes you easy to manipulate, easy to seduce. And that's what she is looking to do. A man who has control over himself sexually will not marry a woman who has kids, who is far from a virgin, who claims to be celibate until marriage. Now, do I believe that there are women who have made mistakes in their life and they have made adjustments and now they would like to stop doing certain things? Yes, but at the same time, you don't qualify to be, you're not equal to a virgin. You're not equal to a virgin who does not have kids, who decided that they weren't going to have sex until they were married. If you meet a woman who is a virgin with no kids, obviously, and she says, I'm celibate until marriage, you're going to respect that. A man is going to respect that because he's like, look what she's doing. She's doing exactly what she's supposed to do. And he might leave her alone if he can't uphold his end of the bargain. So that woman would avoid dealing with a man who doesn't believe like she in the things that she believes in. You know, it doesn't put God first in his life like she does. But for a woman who has gone out and played around and got all dirty, used up, and then decides at 35 she's going to stop doing what she's been doing for the last 20 years of her life and say I'm celibate until marriage, and that's going to attract a man that wants a wife, good luck. Is it impossible? No, nothing's impossible, but it's less likely to happen. Because I know if a woman who has 4 kids, which I've dealt with this, a woman who has kids, 2 to 4 kids, doesn't matter how many kids, a woman who has kids, a woman who's played around, had numerous body counts, and then tells me when she meets me that I'm celibate until marriage, excuse me, well, I'm opt out. I call cap. If this video has resonated with you, or if you like it, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe. But if you are new to my channel, my name is Jerome, and this has been another episode of The Superb Word. And until next time, 2 of those fingers. All right, y'all.